Hello and welcome to Black and Beautiful Chit Chat Connections.
Hello.
Today is going to be a very special day. The name of today's webisode is Networking. What are BIPOC networks? And for anybody who's coming in, this would probably be like my third show. So BIPOC is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. I like to give meanings to the words that we're using. We are geared towards uplifting people of color in the working industry, those who are seeking higher education, those who are going into the workforce. This is specifically for you. So today we're discussing networking. I'm Charlene, and I have a special guest by the name of Ariane Harrison. So I'm gonna give like a little bit about you, Ariane, and then you can jump in and tell us who you are in your own terms. So Ariane is an alum of Bates College. Bates College is located in Lewiston, Maine. So he attended a predominantly white institution. We call PWIs. That is the acronym for a predominantly white institution. But furthermore, Ariane is from the DMV, which is an
Gang. Okay.
extremely diverse place. So how you made it to me, and I have no idea. But now you're working at a law firm.
Yes.
So why don't you introduce yourself? Let's give you some time to introduce yourself. Who are
Okay.
you?
So I'm Arion, like you said. I'm from the DMV, born and raised. Have to, I'm glad you did it, so I didn't have to. Uh, but so I went to school in Maine. I was playing basketball up there. And it was a very interesting experience.
To say the
For the
least.
reason, what'd you say?
To say the least.
To say the least. It was a very interesting experience, but it was an experience nonetheless, and you learn from it and you grow from it. And there were good times as well, obviously. But yeah, so a little bit about myself. As you said, I work at a law firm. I have plans to go to law school, become a criminal defense attorney. I'm studying for the LSAT now, so prayers up, wish me luck. Whoever you pray to, as long as it's not the devil,
Well,
please
we
listen.
gonna chat. Look at me. On Black and Beautiful Chit Chat Connections, we serve Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
Amen.
I will pray before here because I just want to keep God at the forefront of everything that I do. I am not here to judge anybody else, but Jesus Christ is the Lord and Savior. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the light. No one comes to the Father but through me. So we are not doing anything without Christ at the center of this.
Oh, I know we was about to have a sermon. I know we was about to do that today. Woo.
You know.
Hold up, I got my slacks on under this jacket. Don't
Okay.
do it.
And your church shoes. By the way,
Amen.
everybody, Ariane is like 6'8", right? You like 6'8"?
I'm 6'10", but I give you that
Six
one.
ten. Oh my goodness, how dare I take 2 inches off of you?
Exactly.
Ariane is 6'10". I mean, you literally look up to him like this. So I look up to you physically because you're taller than me. And also as a young man who is so ambitious, so smart, you're so free. I look up to you in that way too. Like I admire that about you. And I'm just so happy to be able to interview you, especially on this particular subject. So, with all due respect, are you done introducing yourself? Because I want to pick your brain.
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. All right. So today's episode, and forgive me because I have double screen, so I'm looking back and forth. Today's episode is called What Networking? What are BIPOC networks? And we said BIPOC means Black, Indigenous, People of Color. So we are talking about everybody who is not of the majority. In the country of America, we are from America. Well, we're not all. Well, we live in America, the United States of America. So here, there's this separation between people who have skin like us and people who have skin like my shirt. So we're
I'm gonna
talking
say it. You don't want to say it. If we can say Black, Indigenous, people of color, we can say white.
white
We
people,
can say white people. Okay.
the white folk. Okay.
Listen.
Um, so there's a clear distinction that some networks, some white networks afford more opportunity than those of BIPOC communities. And we are trying to dismantle those structures that are harming our community. But I want to ask you, like, what do you believe a network is? Like, what is a network to you?
Honestly, it's anybody. It's anybody that you come in contact with, anybody that you connect with, honestly. And it can be from wherever. So I think a network is really what you make it. It's just like social media. You got followers you don't really know, but y'all connected for some reason. So
that's a fact. Okay. Do you think networks can differ? So do you think that my network would differ from your network or would differ from, let's say, Nick Dressler? Because I know we know Nick. Yo, shout out to you, Nick. I see you in the
Of course, just like by way of us having different interests, we connect with different people. We're in different locations right now, and we grew up in different locations. So networks can differ. And like I said, it's really what you make it. So if there are advantages, for example, I want to go into law. I live in the DMV. DC is right there. Some people don't have that, may be interested in law and don't have that connection, but they maybe live in New York, and that's another major city. So they have connections that way. So it's really what you make it, and really just trying to connect the pieces of your circle.
I hear that. So another way that I envision, and excuse my internet, it seems like it's hating on me tonight. Nevertheless, can you have a professional network and a personal network?
You better. You better have a professional network and a personal network, especially as a Black Indigenous person of color.
Ooh, elaborate on that.
There are ways in which, if I'm being real, right?
Be real. We all the way real here.
A level of professionalism that needs to be maintained. I'm not telling you to be less of yourself or anything. If you are Black, be Black. If you are Indigenous, be Indigenous, and be there wherever you are. Right. What I'm saying is that some of those things historically have been used against us.
Okay.
So what you want to do is, I mean, this is not new. Code switching is not new, right?
Okay. Bring it out.
It's not new. It's something that we're born to do. So, or not born to do. And it's sad that that was even the words that came out, but it's something that we know to do, right? So there are things that, and personally, even if you're not, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be a white person, but I just personally feel like there should be some separation between professional and personal. So that's just me as well.
So you know me, I'm always probing. And I'm gonna keep us on track, but I'm always probing. And one of my probes is like, what I noticed is a lot of white folks, their professional and personal networks overlap. There's no difference between them in some cases, unless their personal networks are networks where they're doing extracurricular activities. But most of the time, their networks and their professional and personal networks are one and the same. Like, I know such and such dad who is able to get me this job, and I drink and smoke and party with such and such on the weekends.
But see, the thing that I feel is understated is we have those same networks. We can do those same things, right? I have friends whose fathers have law firms. I have friends, Black people, by the way, whose fathers have law firms, who are judges, who have moved every step of the way. And I've done all those things that you mentioned with them as well. So it's all about, again, just making the most of your network. I also have white people in my network who I can party with. What it boils down to, I feel like, is this is something that my basketball coach used to say all the time: KYP, know your personnel, right? If you know that, oh, I'm cool with Charlene, right? Charlene gonna help me out, right? I need this, I'm gonna go to Charlene, right? You can't do that with everybody. And that's Black, white, Indigenous, like whatever, you can't do that with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, all skin folk and kinfolk, all these are sayings. So like you can't, even with white people, you can't do it with black people either.
Real quick, I gotta put this in. Stay tuned on my webisode because all skin folk and kinfolk is a webisode. And we're gonna get to the nitty-gritty about that. I mean, I already said in my first video, I was like, some of y'all not gonna like me, gonna come for me, because I'm calling us out.
As you should.
Some of us be the gatekeepers. But nevertheless, let's get back to networking. I'm going, okay, so know your personnel. KYP, yo, shout out to your coach. What is your coach's name?
Coach OJ Johnson, St. Albans Bulldogs.
OJ Johnson, know your personnel, okay? So, all right, so networks can differ, but you need to know who you go to, and you need to vet them. You need to understand their strengths and weaknesses. Is that okay to move forward with that?
Right.
All right, so let me ask you one question before we start talking about our agenda for today. So this is really just an icebreaker, us getting to know each other, you know, us feeling the vibes. Yeah, get to know. Well, you know, we're letting the audience get to know us.
Oh, okay.
Right? We know each other, but they don't know us. So, you know, just a little vibe, see what the vibe is. So my last question before we get into our agenda for the day is, why do you need a network?
Because you can't do it alone. Especially, again,
can't do it alone.
Black indigenous people of color. We have to be together. Because everything in this specific to the United States, I haven't lived in other countries, but specific to the United States, everything is tried to separate us. So we have to do it together. We need to work together.
I like that answer. I really do. I feel like blue skies. That's like a blue skies answer. You know, that's an answer where it's like everybody's playing their position and understanding each other for who they are.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so the agenda for today is as follows. So, Ariane, I got to give you kudos because I am not going to sit here and plagiarize. Prior to us recording this, Ariane and I were like, okay, what are we going to do? We need some ideas. Ariane came up with this great agenda for today. So here it goes. So our first area is going to be the come up. This is how we're going to talk about networking, the come up. Then after that, we're going to talk about That's My Dog. Every time I think about that, where's that movie from? Friday, That's My Dog. After Craig punched Debo out, I remember that. That's my dog. And then we're going to end with started from the bottom, now we're here. And you know, we could quote Drake all day. So that's our agenda. To come up, That's My Dog, and started from the bottom, now we're here. So the come up. We're going to get specific in like what types of ways, what type of tools we can utilize to, you know, beef up our network or tap into our network, know our personnel, vet. And so why don't you talk to us a little bit about the importance of LinkedIn?
So LinkedIn is like quintessential in the 21st century, especially, I'm sorry, my dog.
Oh, hey, Pop. You want to be on camera?
Exactly. Quintessential in this, right? It's social media, right? It's figuring out who knows who, how can I get this foot in the door? How can I do this? At this point, and when I was in my, like really deep in my job search, there was no job that I applied to that before I started that application, I did not go on LinkedIn and look and see if I knew somebody who worked there or knew somebody who knew somebody that worked there.
Nice. Okay. Very good.
And it'll tell you everything. It tell you when they was there, like who they know that was there. I've had people ask me to do a virtual introduction on LinkedIn because they saw that I knew somebody and they were trying to get in. So it's just this environment that's literally all about networking. It's all about this. If you can do Facebook, Instagram, you could do LinkedIn.
So talk to me about how you identified your networks. Like, was there like some sort of strategy that you used?
Yes.
Because I know it could be overwhelming for some people who never thought about having a LinkedIn or have one, and it feels like Facebook. Yes. So what was your strategy?
The strategy is actually one that I learned from you. I'll give you props. Yes. We had a gathering, and one of the things you said was like, identify three major networks and break that down even farther, right? We all have these different activities that we are involved in, right? That could be I went to school here. That could be I was playing basketball on the block, right? You know people, right? So identify where those people are. For me, those people were my college, the playing basketball, those networks, and my high school, right? Um, Identify those things and then say, okay, I have these people, right? I know I have this network of people here. I have this network of people here. I have this network of people here. Those three networks allow me to touch a lot of different places. So, like you said, I went to school in Maine. So, because of that, I had a lot of connections in New England, in that area, right? I went to high school in DC. So, I had a lot of connections down here. And then, because of basketball, I was able to connect with a lot of different people because of travel teams and because of social media, which brings you back to LinkedIn, right? Like building those in. So I was able to like really pool those resources and do it that way. On top of that, I was president of Black Student Union at my college. So I had I had connections.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I had connections with other Black students at other schools who were doing things, and I could rely on them as well. So really identify those activities or those programs, those organizations that you are involved with, and go from there, really.
I will say, shout out to Bowden, Colby, Bates, Williams. I mean, all those small liberal arts institutions in the New England area that's a part of the NESCAC.
Mm-hmm.
The Black students at those institutions, I have to say, shout out to all of you young people who are still there, alumni, or have been alumni for a long time. Your network is crazy. Mm-hmm. And the way you guys have your network is literally by like talking to each other about the issues that are on campus and or partnering on parties because they're so far and few in between for you guys. So that's really dope. So shout out to you. It was a pleasure watching you be the president of BSU. That was pretty dope.
Thank you.
So good job. So let's go into, okay, so we already said we have a social media network that literally puts networks at our fingertips. Right. But then we need a strategy on how to use the app. So we said identify who are our networks? What are our three major industries or three major, points of passion that we have that would open up our networks? Mm-hmm. So the next thing is like putting ourselves out there. We have this in quotations. Put yourself out there. Now shoot your shot. We know how to shoot our shots. Literally. But how do we do it in the workspace?
The same way you do it anywhere else.
Slide in them DMs?
Yes, honestly, yes. On LinkedIn, slide in somebody's DMs. They have you can connect with somebody, put a message in there. Please don't be like, oh, don't say nothing cheesy. Like,
right, throw the basketball and be like, how did this get in here?
What? Like, exactly. But no, like, just really, oh, I know, I see that you're friends with this person. I have a few questions about, or you work here, I have a few questions about your experience. I just wanted to know if we could connect so that we could talk more, right? Mm-hmm. In the real world, I mean, in the, the outside offline world, it's really just about talking to people. And it's about, and again, your network should also be working for you. So like I've had friends who have told me that they were out at bars and they, were talking to this person or talking to that person, and the conversation became, well, what do you do? I work at a law firm. Oh, I have a friend who's looking to work at a law firm. Let me connect you to. Right. So just little things like that. It's about putting yourself on, getting where you're going, and then later on, that's what we're going to talk about this, but also putting each other on. So, but really, it really just comes down to you have to open your mouth. Closed mouths don't get fed.
They don't.
You gotta
know your personnel. Slide in them DMs. But do it professionally. One thing I will say, a tip about LinkedIn, in the messages, your messages are literally small emails. They're
Right.
small, short emails. So you're greeting that person over and over again. Hi, Ariane. Thank you so much for your response. This is what I requested. Thanks, Charlene. And then you respond, hi, Charlene. It's literally small emails every single time. It's not like a chat. It's like an email. It's weird. It's different.
And also take some time to actually build up your profile. Like
Yeah.
if you want to actually sit with somebody who is more like comfortable with LinkedIn, take that time to build up your profile, and put the things on there that you want people to know about you.
Right.
It's not a place for you to be retweeting memes all the time or anything
Yeah.
like that. But like, I mean, you can. That they have that feature built in there, but you have to
It's
play it smart.
Facebook vibe. Yeah.
Right. So you have to play it smart. You have to be able to, oh, this is a joke related to working or something like that, but also like, I don't want to come off like I don't take this seriously. So jump
Yeah.
back and forth. But take that time to build up your profile and really present yourself. You are a brand.
You have to curate your content.
Right.
It's literally curate. LinkedIn feels like your own website.
It is.
It's like your own website. It really is. Okay, let's move into the part that I think some people are afraid of, in some cases, and or don't necessarily have like this the strategies, the keys, to this approach, the follow up. What does that look like, Ariane?
So the follow up is, I would say, the most important part of networking. And it carries from following up with just a conversation that you had at the bar. If you have an interview, follow up after the interview via
How do I
email.
do that?
You should already have the in-person's that you're interviewing's contact information, right? When you send that email after the interview, probably the day after, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I really enjoyed learning more about, X, Y, or Z. If there's something, I think that one thing that I have found that's been really great is if there was something that you all connected on that may not have been necessarily work related, bring that up in the email, right? So, because what it does is it keeps the conversation going. And that's really what you want to do, is keep the conversation going. You never want it to just seem transactional. I got this out of you.
Not
Next.
hire me so I can make some money and buy my Jordans.
Exactly. You don't want that. You want it to feel
Right.
like a conversation is continuing. So if you could be like, and then I hope Trey Young do his thing, or something like that. Not in those words, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna enjoy watching the game, or something like that. Then it keeps the conversation going, and then you're not only candidate who interviewed, but you're Anthony, who on top of the interview is personable, and actually we were talking about this.
Could be a good fit.
Exactly.
Yes. So a friend of mine, shout out to you, Zach Brown. My friend is a copywriter. He currently lives in Los Angeles. And he has been in the advertisement field for a very long time. And when we were coming up, like post-graduation, post-college graduation, we're trying to find our first job. He gave me a tip. So I'm going to share this tip. He was like, when you apply for the position, right? So LinkedIn makes this very easy for you. If I'm applying for a position and I know that Anthony Harrison is the hiring manager on that particular position committee, it works in my favor, not only to submit my application, but send a follow-up email saying, hi, Anthony, Ariane, my name is Charlene. Here's my resume for review. Should you have the time to see, I applied through the portal. I'm highly interested in the position. Obviously, kiss their behinds and tell them how much you want to be like them. People love flattery, and make a point for them to be able to reach out to you directly. That has worked. It has worked wonders in my job searches. Excuse me. Just people seeing that you're hungry. And what it does is, like, if 1,000 applicants are applying for that position and they have to go through all of the resumes, Now that brings your resume to the top because now you're in their inbox. So not only did you slide in the DMs, but you slid in the emails too.
I think that's one thing that is very important, especially with people my age. Fresh out of college, it was this idea of like, okay, how do I make myself stand out, right? And a lot of times the thought is like, you have to do that on the resume. So you have to be in this extracurricular, you have to be doing this and and all those things are great,
yes.
Right? But everybody who's going into your field has been, I mean, kind of sort of think about it this way, right? The people, okay, so you graduate from college, right? You were like me, I'm a politics major, right? How many lawyers do you know that were politics majors?
If they went to a small liberal arts, probably all of them.
Exactly, right? So I'm doing things that right. I'm doing things that differentiate myself, right? BSU president, I play basketball, doing all these different things. But the thing that I personally have learned about myself is that I'm really great at talking. So if I can like get you to like me, and we can start a conversation, I know that I kind of have, all right, this is good. This is, now we moving, now we getting somewhere. So that's really what I think, how you make yourself stand out. It's not necessarily on paper, but it's what you do face to face, quote unquote.
Agreed. How hungry are you? You want that job or nah? Is you hungry or nah? Don't say that to anybody, but if we being, BIPOC and real right now and being my authentic self, is you hungry or not? Do you want that position, or do you feel like you're entitled just because? You have to show them that you want it. Right. So moving into our next our next portion of the agenda, that's my dog. Peer networking. So we already touched on this a little bit. So we're not knowledgeable of this. You've already talked to us a little bit about what it means to have, what networks, the differences between networks and how you make your network work for you. But what is your approach to peer networking? What is your approach to networking in general? But if you'd like, we can narrow this. Like, what is your approach to peer networking? Outside of, your friends who are obviously going to look out for you, but what does that look like for a colleague or, a classmate that you're not necessarily that close with? What's the approach?
I say treat it like you would anybody. So when we say peers, a lot of times what we're thinking of is people that are in our age group or around our age group. They like, so let me first say, when people normally think about networking, I think they have this idea that you always have to network up. Right. And that's not necessarily the case. So when I talk about peer networking, I'm talking about like
the lateral.
Okay. Not even a lateral move, like you're trying to get this, job. And but like, you're not necessarily, this person is not going to be the person to pull you up all the time. This person may be the person to connect you to the person that's going to pull you up, or, something like that. And I think the approach is the same way you would approach somebody. Be personable, be engaging, be yourself. I think you can be a little more relaxed than what you would be networking up. Of course, you still, like I said before, you still have your brand to think about, or like how you want to show yourself. But I think younger people are more focused on who are you as a person? Like how do you engage? And so just be yourself. Just really be yourself. And you're going to find people that you connect with. You're going to find people that you don't. But if you're being honest
and genuine, I feel like genuineness takes you a very, very long way. People could pick up on your fakeness. Oh my goodness. And you know what I noticed too? And I always tell y'all this. I tell my students, I tell my friends, do the right thing. And if the right thing means that you're treating that person with kindness, you're guaranteed to get that back. You're guaranteed. So the approach is not only understanding that you can't always network up, because sometimes those people might not even be interested in working with you at that point. They don't even have a point of reference for you. But if you have that friend, that colleague, that classmate who you guys vibe on a professional level and they have some connections, like you said, be genuine in that, be yourself, and let that come into fruition as best as you can. Do I have to, and this is my question for you, if I'm networking, peer networking, and I'm using this approach, I'm being kind, I understand that I'm being myself, do I have to know exactly what I want out of life?
No, you should. You, I don't think anybody ever always knows exactly what they want out of life. Like that's just not something that's like real. I know I'm 23. I'm young. I have like you know what I'm saying, but like I just don't think that that's actually the case.
Right.
Um, and so I think the biggest thing is like you said, just be genuine. Like I have an interest in this.
Right.
I am, oh, that sounds really cool. And along with being genuine goes back to something I was saying, don't be transactional, right? Like, don't, because people pick up on that, right? Like, people know when you actually just want something.
Yeah.
And so there's a way you go about it that's like, no, I'm actually interested in this. I'm actually interested in this. And oh, how did you go get into this? What's going on here? How did you, oh, really? I was doing this program at XYZ, da, 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 and connect that way. Don't come out and just be like, oh, yeah, I saw you got this job. I'm trying to get in where you at, how you do this. Not all the time, at least. The closer you are to people.
It could work 10% of the time.
Right, exactly. But like, people know when you're being genuine and people know when you're just trying to get something out of them. So
Absolutely.
just connect with people and just be there to talk to people.
I agree.
And get your name out.
Get your name out there. Use your personal website on LinkedIn. and you know, also word of mouth. That it has not died yet. So, you know, they talk about people do anything for clout, but that's like social media clout. If your name rings bells when someone, you know, you're in a room and your name comes up and nothing but good things are said about you, that's networking as well. You know, you want to carry that legacy. I mean, you're not going to be able to please everybody. So you can't expect that every time your name comes up. But if you, for the majority of the time, have had great relationships with people, are able to maintain positive relationships, I think that approach is really great. So talk to me about Skin Gold and Kinfolk. Who's actually working for you and making the right connections?
So that was a little typo. It was supposed to be Skin Folk and Kinfolk, but
Okay. Oh, Skinfolk. Okay, excuse me.
Yeah.
Skinfolk.
But the point of that is that for me personally, when I started, like when I got out of college, I made like this, I had this idea, or even in college, that people were gonna help me with Black people, right? And what I'm learning more and more is that you have to be open to seeing that, right? One of the attorneys at my firm, I'm really interested in criminal defense law. One of the attorneys at my firm is, you know, this middle-aged white dude. You know, he likes Star Wars. I like Boys in the Hood. You know, like we not on the same. But we actually will sit and talk about things, and he'll actually explain things to me. And we've developed a relationship where like I've actually started to really work on the cases with him, and really get to see step like from the initial intake of a client to the end of their case. Like, okay, what is this step? Okay, how do we get to this? What is going on here? So you really have to be open to connecting with people. And so that's why I was saying, don't limit yourself by saying, you know, you have to, oh, you know, I'm gonna look at all the Black people. Of course, do that, right? Because if it's one thing about Black people, if it's two of us in the room, we're gonna do a head nod.
You know it. You know we're gonna be like, well, it depends on what kind of Black people. But that's a different episode.
And if they don't do the head nod, you got your answer, right? But like,
but the acknowledgement is always there. You're right.
Right. Be open, right? Yeah. And that's really what that was. Like, don't just group yourself into just like, okay, I have to do this with Black people or with people of color. If you can do that, that's wonderful. that is amazing.
I agree.
But hey, do what you got to do, what works for you. Again, that does not mean becoming less of yourself or turning yourself down. It means connecting with people who, you know, you connect with.
I will say, I'm going to, and there goes my internet again. But
I can hear you clearly.
huh?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I will say that my mother, so I moved to Maine, and upon me getting to Maine, it was really, really hard. I wasn't really making friends. Like the people of color were slightly exhausting to me. I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm gonna do. The white people were kind of treating me a little funny. And my mom was like, I bet you there are some really nice people there, Char. Like, stop saying that. Like, stop saying you're not gonna find anyone, who's gonna be kind to you. Like, just stop. Just let God handle it. And I will say that right now, like Mr. Fuller, Jason Fuller, Todd Shaffelli, their families at Lewiston High School are still Anna. Hi, Anna. Like, you all are still amazing people in my life. They embrace me. Mr. Fuller showed me, I interned for him as the athletic director, much like you showed me from the beginning of a student's, matriculation in high school, ninth grade, through 12th grade, and even on to, compliance with the NCAA. Like, he taught me everything. He showed me everything step by step. And I mean, this man works so hard. And even to this day, I just texted him the other day, like, hey, I'm about to be in Maine. He's like, when are you coming? Like, just, you have to be open. You have to be open. We can't continue to think that because we live in such a racially polarized country, that there aren't going to be white folks out there who are going to look out for us genuinely, right? Like, they don't want anything from us. They just want to share their information just like they would share it with any other person. I feel like, not in a color blindness way, but they're just that genuine. So I'm 100% on board with you.
Hey, while we're on this topic, I gotta give a shout out to my man Nick Hill, because
Nick
that
Hill.
is my guy. That is my guy. We are studying for the LSAT together. We wrote our theses together. Our topics were almost like, he wrote his on police powers and police brutality, and police misconduct. I wrote mine on prosecutor powers and prosecutor misconduct, and we came to these ideas separately, and then wrote them together. And so I just had to give him a quick shout out for a second, because while we're on that topic, that is somebody who I consider in my peer network who we really work together to build each other up.
All right, Mr. Hill. Shout out to you. That's awesome. So, we are even sharing, I'm a little distracted. I'm sorry. We're even sharing, our own personal networks now, right? And how they've benefited us, even till now, as we're growing and developing as a professional. You're 23, I'm right, and I'm still I'm still
How old are you?
My mama said black don't crack, so but I'm a little older than you, and I am still in the process of really narrowing down what I'm going to like stick my foot in. I know I want to serve, but my network is still helping me develop that. And every single position that I get in just gets more and more. I just keep moving up, right? So I'm in grind season, I keep moving up. But I know eventually I'll be in a space where my network has helped me become this established professional. And that's the goal, that's the goal and that's the purpose. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate you sharing that. So we're going to quote Drake for a little bit. Started from the bottom, now we're here. I mean, I like Drake. Do we still like Drake? Do we like Drake with the heart in his head?
Drake is hit or miss for me. I feel like sometimes he be doing too much. Sometimes he like plays on this like sad boy image that like, but
He's
you know,
emotional. He for the emotional dudes.
listen, I'm an emotional dude, but I'd be like, look,
Leave
all
up.
right, like I don't feel like crying for a whole album,
All
sir.
the time, brother. Stop crying. I feel like Drake will definitely like switch up his music when he finds a wife, probably.
But then it's gonna be boring.
That's how we felt about Mary, but what? Mary had like 5 more albums after My Life, 5 or 6.
And of course, man, like, and then it became wonderful. Like, I said,
We are so. Why do we do this to each other?
I love Mary.
Me too. I love Mary too. Mary's my girl. Shout out to Mary, shout out to Drake. But okay, they don't even know me. But maybe one day they'll watch this podcast and be like, oh.
I hope it's not Mary that's gonna watch the podcast and see me.
I know, right? Look. and go and be like, look, I got somebody who you could be a lawyer for.
I'm not networking with him.
We gonna call Ariane. You said Johnny Cochran who, right?
Johnny Cochran who?
Yeah.
No shade to Cochran. I love Johnny Cochran, but if your goal is to be better,
exactly. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We supposed to be better than the last generation. So I'm pretty sure he'd be proud of that. So it'd be Ariane Harrison, Esquire.
Yes. I go by my first name at work, which is Anthony, which is why we were switching back and forth. So, but you know,
Anthony Harrison, Esquire.
I can't wait for the Esquire. I'll be practicing. I'll be scribbling it and put the little ESQ at the end. Don't.
You might as well go ahead and get your little business cards from Vistaprint. They like $10. Oh my goodness. This has been such a pleasure. All right, let's see. Let's get into starting from the bottom because now my cheeks are hurting from smiling so hard. So reaching back. Yes. You mentioned this. You said we were going to talk about this later. And we are at the second half, the last portion of our agenda. And so starting from the bottom, now we're here. What does reaching back mean to you?
It means, like you were saying, right? You're still on your ladder, right? You are still getting to that point, but that does not mean that while you may not be at the top where you want to be, but you are in a place better than you were. And because of that, you know how to get to the place where you are. Because there are people who are under you who are trying to get to where you are while you're still trying to climb. So what it means is that you still have the resources to help somebody else out and be willing to help somebody else out. So for me, I just graduated college a year ago, which is crazy to even realize, but like there are still students who are like, okay, how do I get a job at a law firm, or how do I do this, or all of that. And I'm able to use those experiences to say, this is how you want to get that foot in the door. Mm-hmm. This is what we're doing now, right? Connecting with people and really putting the information out there, using yourself as a resource for others, and just allowing people to really grow for themselves, and you're not getting anything out of it.
Right.
Like you're just doing it for the sole purpose of trying to build somebody else up. And again, this is what I said at the beginning, is like, we're going to have to do that.
We have to.
We have to do that.
We have to. We have no choice.
We have no choice.
That's where I think we can be selective in terms of, I don't want to say that because I also serve white folks. Mm-hmm. I got white students that I serve, and I love them just the same. And I will share the same information with them. But if we're talking about the plight of a BIPOC in America, and we're saying expand your network and don't think that you just should be networking with Black folks. But I feel when you're reaching back, because our communities are so oppressed and depressed, in this space, we can be very intentional about our reach back. Are you reaching back to those who, you know, might not be afforded that opportunity? And white folks might fall in that because sometimes, you know what I mean? We know that economics is a thing in this country as well. But reaching back is very, very important. Sharing information is so important. Why do you think that they try to like stop us from getting proper information on the internet? Because they know that it's like close to wealth. Time and information are way more important than money. So if you have some information and you can share that with someone, here's where you could be really, really exclusive about it.
And you don't have to, I feel like giving back doesn't necessarily even mean you have, it's so many different ways to do so, right? Yeah. I had a friend who I went out to lunch with a friend from high school, speaking of networks, right?
A dog is just barking. You can hear it?
I heard it in the back, but you know, this don't even matter.
He want to join the conversation too. They messing up our webisode.
He want to join the conversation too. He's trying to, you know, get on the next Dentist Sticks commercial. He's trying to see what's gonna happen. No, but
sorry to cut you.
I have a friend who in high school, from high school, who you know, we went out to lunch one day and I was just telling him, you know, I'm planning to start studying for the LSAT. And he goes, I have a friend who's giving away all their books.
Nice.
All of their books. LSAT books are expensive, right?
I know.
So it was just like that one thing, but that's, you know, reaching back. That's not even reaching back. We're peers, so that's just helping out. But there's so many ways to do that. There are different like drive folders that have a lot of study material for LSATs, MCATs, GREs, ABC, LMNOP. You know what I'm saying?
All these damn acronyms, right?
Right, but and it's just being able to really share those resources, or you know, you took the LSAT, you're in law school, you have these books,
right?
You have two options. Now, I'm not saying you, if you need the money for it, right? Sell your books back.
Sell them, but yeah, absolutely.
Drop them off, get them, you know, take them somewhere. So it's so many different ways. That was just one that like touched me. But it's just a lot of different ways where we can give back, a lot of different ways where, you know, we can build each other up. My mom wants to actually do a an event where, like an interviewing event for people in DC, in one of the neighborhoods in Northeast DC, where, you know, giving interview tips, how to dress for interviews, resume workshops, things like that, because we've been blessed. And so give back to communities and help build each other up.
Bless others. That's what I'm saying. Information, share information. Do not hoard information. I feel like some of us, and I'm saying us because sometimes that person just wants to be like me, or you just on your high horse, or you might just not be thinking about others. Like, it's our job to share with others. So thank you so much for that, Ariane. Anthony. That makes perfect sense. So that brings us, huh?
You can call me Ariane.
Okay. I'm like, you know, call you Anthony. You never let me call you Anthony before. So I'm like, I just want to make sure I'm in line. Yeah. So bringing others up. Mm-hmm. What does this mean to you? Bringing others up.
I think you touched on a really important thing. Personally, when I'm thinking of bringing others up, I'm thinking of bringing others up like me, right? Other people of color. And the reason, other people from my socioeconomic background, and the reason I say that is because, you know, there was a struggle for me to get to where I am, and those things played a major factor, right? Mm-hmm. So knowing that, I'm going to make sure that the next Black boy doesn't have to, or I can try to mediate some of those circumstances so that the struggles that I had to deal with of like trying to find people, right? He doesn't have to do that, or she doesn't have to do that, or they don't have to do that, because why should they?
Right.
If I already went through that.
I agree. I agree. I think that is you are describing the entire reason why I went into youth development.
Mhm.
One day, because I'm just going to share with you, I have all the prereqs to go to DPT school. I wanted to be a doctor of physical therapy.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this. I was
I
like,
have my homegirl, shout out to Amy. My homegirl, Amy, she lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. She's an occupational therapist. She did occupational therapy. I did physical therapy. She's an OT. She'll tell you. We were in the same classes together. We were on the same track. And I graduated, and it was time for me to apply. And this little voice was like, I'm sorry, I'm getting old. This little voice was like,
I heard her say she's years old.
yeah, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. You see my face shiny. I'm getting old nowadays. So, nevertheless, this little voice said to me, "You need to share this information with young people like you."
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what it was. It was like there was a little voice always speaking to me. I always had my ducks in a row. Anytime I went through the system of higher education and I was meeting with advisors, meeting with professors, networking, I was graduating from college with a job before I walked across the stage, like a salary job before I walked across the stage, because that's my mama. Because I had my ducks in a row and I understood the system. And something to say, you need to share that. And my first job in youth development was with the Harlem Children's Zone, which is one of the largest nonprofits in New York City and is like the national staple of what nonprofit and charter schools are for urban education. Mm-hmm. So I learned so much there, and it has propelled me into the career that I'm in right now. But, I did it because I knew that I needed to, I just needed to share that information. And it wasn't about like having to bring somebody up, but more so like you said, like I had all these barriers that I had to face, and I saw that my peers didn't. Some of my peers didn't have those barriers. So why not put myself in a position where I could share that information so that others don't have to go through the same thing that I had to go
through. And that's like, so Elijah, Justice, and I, so I have friends.
Shout out to Elijah, shout out to Justice. We got to get them on a webisode. We have to do another one because I'm having so much fun. And I know the audience is going to be having fun too. So just know.
But we're doing this again. When we were in school, we were together so much that one time somebody called me Justice. And she laughing. The reason that she's laughing is because I look nothing like Justice. Justice about 5'10". I'm 6'10". Justice got locks. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, but that's how, and the reason we were together is because we were working on all these different projects together, right? We ran the social justice theme house, which you helped us with. You know what I'm saying? You basically like came up with the whole plan, and we had a whole meeting session that like we really mapped everything out. But also off campus, we had a mentorship program that we were doing. And that was really where it was
Tree. What was it called? Tree Street?
Hillview.
Yeah. There were so many of them. Sorry.
Yeah. But so, and the reason that was so great is because I remember there was, we would go in, and really the goal was to be big brothers to these African immigrant young people who, and we mostly focused on boys. So, who, and our whole goal was like, be the adult that you wish you had at their age.
Right.
And so be that big brother. Because all three of us were actually the oldest brother of our families.
Oh, so that's sweet. I didn't know that.
So it was a technicality. Me and Justice are the only brothers, and so I'm the only boy in my family, but Elijah and Justice are both the older brothers. So we didn't really have those, right? And so we wanted to really be that for those middle school students, and so we were able to do so. And I remember there was one moment where we were presenting at an MLK Day presentation where one of the students said, they're just like the brothers that like we never had. And I remember in the room, like me, Justice, and Elijah were all in 3 separate places. And we looked at each other. It was like, like we did it, like, oh my gosh, because we never told them that. That was a conversation that we just had in our dorm room. And so, but it was really important to us that these young students have somebody to like say, we can laugh, we can joke, we can freestyle, we can talk about waves, we can talk about locks, we can do all this stuff. And still, you got to make sure that your schoolwork is handled. You got to make sure, the teachers are bothering you, the teachers are doing this. I definitely understand that, here's the resources that you can have to
navigate that.
Navigate that, right? So it was really just those little things. That's why, again, I say there's so many different ways for you to reach back. There's so many different ways, and it's all networking still.
I will say this, all networking, and I'm glad that we're closing on this because I know that there's a lot of people who are in communities right now that need help. Mm-hmm. The community needs help. But the most important thing that I want people to walk away from that story is that in order for the community to feel what you wanted to bring to them, they had to feel that it was genuine. They had to feel like it was from your heart. You were doing this from the goodness of your heart. You were not doing it with a savior complex. You were not doing it because you thought you were well off and you just needed to go help the poor little children. Right. You were doing it because you said, hey, I didn't have this, so I'm going to give this to someone else, And so I want people to walk away with that. As we network and build our what's the word I'm looking for? You used the word before. We're like curating our content and we're marketing ourselves and we're building our careers. We're also giving back and providing services for communities, volunteering our time, meeting people randomly, because God will put somebody in your way just to help, right? When you're doing these things, be genuine and authentic. And that's another video that's going to come out too. Authenticity. What does that look like? Does that even exist? You started the conversation saying like, be you, but don't be you, right? Because like we don't get all of that. But the genuineness from your heart has to come, and it can only be felt if it's really genuine. That's something you cannot fake. Mm-hmm. So those young people were able to feel that you were their big brothers because you guys genuinely wanted to be their big brothers, right? Like if you didn't genuinely want to do that, little kids they could sniff you out very quickly. They would have been like rejected you and been like, "Ew, get out of here. We don't like you. Act up." You know how kids are when they don't like stuff. They're not listening to you and things like that. So kudos to you guys for being the example of that. And if it's anything you walk away from, if anybody's in the audience listening to this, if it's anything you walk away from, be genuine. Be genuine with the things, with the relationships that you build, the work that you do, and with the people that you care for. Be genuine, be genuine. So, Aaron, this is like the end of our episode.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
I'm so happy that this is like, let me tell y'all how this started. Like, let me tell you how this came about. We were just texting about, we were just catching up, and
which we do very often.
Yeah, I have to. Like, we have to. But we were just like, you just started talking, and this is again what I was saying about like what you've been doing, and doing the webisodes and all this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this. Like, please let me be a guest host. But again, that just goes to show, like, again, closed mouths don't get fed, right? Like, and look at the good that came out. Hopefully, the good that comes out of this, right? Like, hopefully
this is beautiful.
I'm just saying, I don't know the individual who we are going to touch, but there will be someone, and I'm very glad that like this is what this was, because put the information out there. It all comes full circle.
All comes full circle. So give us your IG handles. What's your social media? What's your LinkedIn? How do we get in contact with you, Ariane?
You can get in contact with me. Instagram, Twitter is AO_Arion, AREOHN. LinkedIn is Anthony Harrison.
Soon to be Esquire.
I'm going to be Esquire, you know what I'm saying? But that's something that has been manifesting for a minute. That's like when ATL came out, my family was calling me
You're like,
Esquire.
this is it. This is what I'm doing.
But yes, if you ever want to talk or chat or anything like that, I am always down to have a conversation. So anybody, please feel free to hit me up. I'd be bored sometimes. Let me know. You know what I'm
Let
saying?
me know. Hit me up. But yeah, okay. I am so happy. Thank you so much for coming. There will be more Black and Beautiful Chit Chat Connections. Arion will be back. Just know you will be back.
Thank you.
And
I don't want another spot. This is wonderful. This is great.
and you will be able to find our videos on YouTube at Imana Barena Inc. Our IG is Imana, IMANA, Barena, BORENA, Inc. And then our Twitter is Imana Inc. IMANA Inc. So we got YouTube, we got Twitter, we got Facebook. No, I just lied. YouTube, Twitter, IG. I don't have Facebook. I don't really like Facebook like that. My LinkedIn is Charlene Holmes, MPS. If you'd like to connect.
Hold on. What'd you say?
MPS.
She said comma.
I got some
letters. You got letters.
Somebody I could care less about any of them things, but hey, that's my name on there.
But if you're trying to get a comma MPS after your name too,
we're gonna figure it out, man. But thank you so much, Arion, man. You are literally a pleasure. I love you so much. God bless you. May He keep you always. And until next time, everybody.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
See you later.
Bye.